Hello, mortals. We are your Valkyries.
Miss Darby.
And Miss Charlie. And we are two inquisitive, quirky chameleons.
Just like you nasty girl.
We will be discussing our experiences and opinions on sex work, art, and the erotic taboo counterculture we just can't stop talking about.
We are currently recording and transmitting this episode from our opulent spaceship of fiendish fun. Welcome to the Babes of Valhalla. Content may not be suitable if you are underage, closed-minded, or immature. We discuss topics that are graphic and sexual in nature.
Today we'll be discussing the questions and concerns of those around us, those looking from the outside in. Family, friends, and randos may not always understand your super spicy psychedelic life choices. Here are some of their questions. All right, Miss Darby, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to ask you some seriously difficult ones. Are you ready here? Here we go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
How did you pick your stage name?
Okay, so I get this question a lot. Partially, I don't know. I guess because, people, we don't have stage names, I guess, that are, Cinnamon or Dallas. So, I don't know. I guess, people ask us that question a lot because maybe our names are not as stripper typical, but I don't know if that's even a real thing. When I picked my stage name, I felt like it was really important because it was this, I don't know, it was an identity that I was going to be assuming as a dancer. And we started dancing outside of our hometown. So I don't know, it just felt important to separate the two things because we were really, that was really important to us in the beginning was separating the two and having a separate name. So I put a lot of, I guess, pressure on it, but I also wanted it to be fun, but I also wanted it to fit because I didn't want it to feel like it was going to be something, I really wish I could be a Cinnamon, but I just am not. So Charlie actually ended up helping me pick mine out because she was working, this was a year, I think, before we started dancing, maybe not, but she was working at this place and this girl, she was talking about joining roller derby, and she was trying to brainstorm what her roller derby name should be. So this girl is offering up to Charlie these ideas, and she was oh, what about Darby, Darby the Derby girl? And Charlie's telling me this story back home, and she's and I was just looking at her that's so dumb. Darby is not a roller derby name. That's a stripper name because derby names are supposed to be Brenda the Bone Crusher, not Darby the Derby girl. It's too cute. And
oh my gosh, I forgot this story.
Yeah, and then when we started dancing a year later, or 6 months later, I was well, I'm gonna be Darby because
the stripper girl.
Yeah, because I don't know, and I thought it was cute and unique, and I don't know, I just felt it fit. Yeah.
And it rhymes with Barbie.
And it rhymes with Barbie, which, that's also, I'm just into that. So that's always good. And then our first DJ could call me Stripper Barbie Darby. So that was also good. So you're welcome, Dave.
Do you ever get nervous when strangers touch you? What if those people are not attractive? Bum, bum, bum. Thoughts?
Okay. So, one, stripping is not dating. So I'm not, I don't need to be invested in any of these people based on, their physical attributes. I don't need to be attracted to them to work for them and or, accept their money. So as a stripper, I feel I'm providing a service to those that are willing to pay for it, and it's not about what they look like. So to me, respect, cleanliness, and appreciation are the most important, aspects of a quote-unquote good customer. So I want a customer that comes prepared, showered, has money in hand, and wants to have a good time. So, you might not get all of those things, but there's also, an aspect of it that, not everyone is like this too, because there's different reasons that people come into the club, but they're all there for a reason. And I just don't, like, to me, everybody gets one chance. So you get a chance. As long as, like, I feel like my boundaries are being respected, then I'm fine to give you a second, third, and so on chance. But I feel like people are there for whatever, and I don't want to, like, judge them based on what they look like. Also because sometimes the people that look like bums or who are not attractive or who are a lot older or even who are, like, I don't know, just maybe not someone that I would even look twice at on the street. Like, those are the people that end up being some of your best customers who just really enjoy and appreciate your time. They know how to appreciate you monetarily. Like, you have a good time with them. And usually the quote-unquote cute guys are the worst customers. They just have, like, a ton of attitude, and I have the worst problems with them. Like, they're the ones who want to push your boundaries the most. They're the ones that want to, like, be, like, yeah, and they want to be, like, rough, or they want to, like, I mean, even just last week, I had some guy who was like, well, I'm going to bite you. And I was like, no, you're definitely not going to bite me. And he's like, well, why? Like, what do you mean, why? Because I said no. And I don't get questions like that usually from, like, older customers or, like, even, I don't know, just, yeah, like, to people who maybe don't have, like, confidence, which, I don't know. That could maybe be, like, a different discussion for a different day. But that's, like, I guess the way I answer that normally. And I think you'd also be surprised, like, how much fun and the chemistry you can have with someone who's, like, 3 times your age or someone you don't think is attractive. Because if they are respectful of you and you guys are just having a good time and, like, it's really obvious, like, that it's a transactional relationship, then you can feel really comfortable. And I got over the whole, like, strangers touching me thing pretty quickly because for me, like, giving a lap dance is like being the third party to somebody else's intimate experience. So as long as my boundaries are being respected, like, I'm good. And it's like, I don't know, it's all the best parts of, like, high school, which is just, like, dry humping on a couch to some bad music. So,
you know, it's interesting that you said it's like being a third party to somebody else's intimate experience. Like, that's such an interesting way to phrase it because it's so true. It's like because I feel like guys all the time ask you, like, oh, do you like this? Are you enjoying this? And you're just always like, yeah, sure. But it's like, it's more like I'm enjoying watching them interacting with me from a very outside perspective, right?
Totally.
It's like, I'm like, oh yeah, like, you're into this, which is funny or interesting or engaging or boring or whatever it is, but it's always from a very kind of like I'm having an out-of-body experience watching them with me because I'm in, like, work mode, right? You're monitoring their breathing, their like how tense their body's getting, like where their hands are going, like if they're saying anything, if they're touching you, like those are all the things you're monitoring, and you're monitoring how your body is interacting with them. And then there's, like, this whole emotional aspect is also layered on top. So it's like this really bizarre experience where, like, it is sexual, but it's like you're observing it. Like, you're not engaging with it, even though you are very much engaging with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Here's our last question before we take a little break for some personal time. Miss Darby, I've noticed you're getting rather old.
Yeah? You've noticed?
You are an old lady now. You have passed your prime. When do you think you're gonna quit?
Okay. So as I continue to get closer to 30, I'm getting asked this, like, more and more, and not just by, like, customers, but also by, like, friends or, like, other people that know I dance. And I just know, like, when we first started, we were like, okay, this is going to be for, like, a few years, and then, you know, quote unquote, real life will start. And 6 years later, I'm still dancing, and I still really like it, and I don't want to quit. And so, no, I guess I don't really have, like, an end date. Like, I know plenty of dancers that are 40 plus and make so much fucking money, have kids, and great marriages. So I'm not as worried about it as I used to be. And I guess I'm hoping that I just have the ability to quit when I want to quit, and I'm not dragging my ass to the club every night and hating it, because I do see some women who are in that situation, and that is a place I don't want to be, and I really feel for them because I know that there is an expiration date, like where you just get burned out and you just don't want to do it. And I go through that, like, a couple times a year where I have to take a break. But when you kind of get that, I see girls who get that permanent burnout where they have to quit for like 2 years, or, they like need to quit, but they have built a lifestyle that they can't afford unless they're dancing. But then when you're unhappy being there, you're also not making the same kind of money, and you're not feeling good about it, which, like, I do think it comes through in the way that you behave in the club. And I don't want to, I don't want to be that person. So I just want to, like, be able to have the ability to quit when I do decide I want to. So yes, like, finding a full-time gig that fits into my future life and money goals is a high priority on my list. But honestly, like, even when I get there, I'll probably still be dancing until I just, don't want to, because I don't know how you can say no to that flexibility and extra money. And I still like it. Like, like, I work full time during the day now, but, like, this is the job that I miss when I'm, like, on vacation, or that I, like, still usually am, like, excited to go to. And, like, even if, I don't necessarily want to, like, I just finished a full day of working, now I'm going to go to the club. Like, I'm kind of like, oh man, I kind of just want to stay home, like, da 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 da. But, like, once I'm at the bar, I'm just like, yeah, it's gonna be fucking awesome. Like, I don't know, it, like, feeds a bunch of aspects of my personality and, like, emotional, mental needs that, like, I don't have another job that does. So, like, quitting kind of freaks me out because I also kind of worry about, like, whether or not I'll be bored or I'll be, like, happy. So, I don't know. And it's, like, a whole new part of your life, like, I don't know. It's just, like, the idea of not doing it is weird now. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Definitely that stigma against dancers who aren't like 20, which is ridiculous, because you see gorgeous women who are, past 20, past 30, past 40, and they're killing it. But, you also see people of all ages who are miserable, right? And I think that's the thing that you want to avoid, is you see people who, we've seen, like you said, people who they don't have another option and they hate it, which is really difficult because you don't ever want to get to that point in your life. And I think as long as you enjoy it, why not? I mean, not everybody wants, like, a girl right out of college, Yeah. Like, that is kind of what's perceived as, like, what men want. There's so many, like, tastes out there for ages and body types and everything, I mean, I think the thing that's been so interesting about dancing in a big city versus where we danced before, is where I danced, like, now, is you really have, like, so much variety. You've got really tiny girls, you got really thick, sexy girls, you got tall girls, you got short girls, you have girls of, like, every race, gender identification, whether they prefer, like, they, them, or even male pronouns, because I'm in a big city, and there's so much access and there's so much interest, and so I think it's nice to see that, to realize that, sometimes I think this world is perceived as just this small sliver of an industry. I think there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I do think that, I mean, like, part of like, we're talking about, like, girls that are or people that are still working in the industry and are unhappy and, like, have to be there out of necessity. Like, part of that is, like, also, like, then speaking to privilege, which is something we're going to talk about in later episodes. But, like, you and I are both, like, we've both had the privilege of going to college and can, find other work, and we're both, I think that, like, that also plays into it, because they're also, like, in that way, I guess I view it kind of as being lucky or blessed. I guess privilege is the right word, though, for it. Just because I don't necessarily feel trapped, and I feel like if I wanted to, like, I could not dance and still survive. But, like, I 100% agree with you. Like, it's like the only thing I ever get nervous about, I guess, in thinking of getting older in the industry is like the choices of clubs changing and not having like as
Mm,
many options of
mm-hmm.
places to dance at. But at the same time, like, I don't know, just like you said, working in a bigger city, like I see so many dancers that are, like you said, considered older dancers that are, I mean, they're making way more money than I'm making. And that's just because, I mean, they have their customers they've had for 20 years and 15 years. And those customers are like coming into, making more money than they were making 15 years ago or this and that. And like, it's just interesting because I agree with you. I think when we first started too, it was like, oh, cool, like we're super young, so like we're gonna just be so awesome and we're gonna make all this money. And really, it comes down to like your sales tactics and your personality and your ability to have a conversation and like maintain customer relationships. And like those things are skills that you can learn, but like regardless of age, those are the things that are gonna like get you, a paycheck or whatever at the end of the night. Being cute and young or even just cute is only going to take you so far. And like that has been anxiety kind of quelling reality for me where I was like, all right, like just because I'm 28, almost 29, it doesn't mean that I need to feel like some type of way about it. So I'll just start lying. Whatever. Fuck it. People think I'm
Yeah.
22 all the time. I'll be like, yeah, I'm
Well,
22.
people say that to me too.
Yeah,
So, I
see?
mean, why not? It doesn't
Exactly.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, Charlie, it's
Hello.
your hello. It's your turn. I'm going to ask you some questions. All right. So, question number one. Are you okay?
Yeah, so this is a really funny question because I get this a lot because I especially think that and you might get this as well, but I feel like my demeanor is very innocent and very kind of like unsuspecting. So when people find out for the first time that I am involved in sex work, they like give me this like, are you okay? Like thinking that I just like rounded a corner and somebody like snatched me off the street and was like, you're gonna sell your body for money. And I was just like, oh my God. Okay, I guess I'll drop all my morals. Now all of a sudden I'm just lost in this man's world where people are throwing money at me and I'm doing coke in the bathroom every night. So it's really funny, and the answer is yes. I'm fine. I know not everybody chooses this lifestyle. Some people have to go into this lifestyle, but I think that the important thing is to know that everybody goes in for a different reason, and everybody comes from like a very different walk of life. So you meet people who are like, this was my last choice, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to do it, all the way to people who are like, oh, I used to work this other job but I quit because this was more fun. You
Mm-hmm.
really see everything, from like the 18-year-old girl who's just out of college or hasn't even entered college or has run away from home, the mom of 5 who, does this on the weekends and nobody knows about it. So it's such a wide range, but I think it's strange how many people approach me with this, the arm touch. Oh God, you've been corrupted. Somebody once said to me, which I thought was so funny, they're like, I just don't want you to make, a decision you're going to regret. Well, I've been dancing for 3 years, so I think we're kind of past that that point
Oh
of,
my gosh.
I know, and it was such a funny thing, but I don't think they saw it as a rude or, inconsiderate question. They just saw it as they were taking concern,
Mm-hmm.
for my well-being. I'm fine.
Well, good.
I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. All right. Number two. So, what does your boyfriend think about you dancing? And aren't you just generally worried about what people are going to think?
Well, that's a great question. Miss Darby. I was already dating my partner when I decided to start dancing. And so we talked about it a lot. And we decided kind of like what he was okay with, what he wasn't okay with. Because, I mean, honestly, in a strip club, the strip club has their own rules, but you pick your boundaries within that. They will do their best to monitor it, but depending on the club, you can kind of push it as far as you want. And that's kind of just your personal choice and comfort. So we chose what he was comfortable with, and then we just kind of kept those two lives separate. You know, I would go to work, I would do my job, and I would come back, and then I would transform and back to myself again. But it was never like a thing where he was angry or I was keeping secret. I just, you know, wouldn't excessively talk about what happened at work, you know? And then we were fine. We were good. But I did worry, and sometimes I still do worry about what people think, because there is a lot of prejudice around sex work, around all kinds of sex work. Mm-hmm. And it can be very difficult for people's opinions not to change after they find out.
Yeah.
And so I think more in the beginning, it caused a lot of anxiety. I don't think I told anyone for about the first year besides my mom, but that was it. Because I was so worried what people would think of me, you know. And then as time went by, it became easier for me to talk about. But I still think that I keep it more to a close group of friends who needs to know, because there's only so many people whose opinion I care about. And I think sometimes it's easier to not give people the option to weigh in on your life, you know? So.
No, I agree with you. I definitely think that, like, whenever I get asked this question, I mean, I'm just like, yeah, I'm upfront about it with people. Like, I don't know. I guess I talk about it more. It's different now that I have a day job, but with strangers, just because I feel like it's become like a really important part of my life. And I just like hate, I don't know. I just get tired. I get tired, I think, of like, oh, why are you never free on the weekends? Oh, I'm bartending. Oh, what bar do you work at? Like, that's the next question. Oh, well, we should come visit you at work. And I'm like, well, you can, but I'll not be wearing any clothes, which is also fine, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like I get tired sometimes of just like trying to make things up. So now, like, even when I was dancing and when I was single, and guys would like ask me for my number at a bar or something, I would just tell them, be like, look, just so you know, like, right off the bat, because I feel like it weeds out a lot of good people and then like shitty people I don't want in my life. Because whenever I've like, you know, come out to someone, if it's like someone's interested in dating me, I tell them in the very beginning, and I go over like full disclosure, because I just don't want to have to talk about it. Like, I don't want to reveal it to them later.
Right.
And then if it's like, you know, someone I think is going to be like a close friend, like, you know, I want to get to know someone and feel like I respect them and I like them enough to do the work to have that conversation. But I had definitely noticed, like, when I, you know, quote unquote, come out to people that, like you said, like, they can turn on a dime and you're like, oh, so this is the kind of person that you are. And, you know, it's like you have like 100% of the world, and like you tell people you're a dancer, that cuts it down to like 50% of people that even are interested in having a relationship, friends or whatever, with you. And then based on how they treat you from that, it just keeps cutting it down further and further and further to like a smaller, better number of people who are like respectful, intelligent individuals who like are even open to the idea. Because I definitely have friends that don't necessarily agree with my choices, but they are still supportive. Meanwhile, I've had friends that I was very close with from the time I was a teenager through all of college, who then when I told them I was dancing, you know, they pretty much cut me off. Which sucks, but it is what it is. Like, fuck those people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think there's a lot of this like separation where people would never like associate you with that world, So, like, they have all these belief systems,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like beliefs around who these people are, what these people are like, personality traits, lifestyle. And then when you're like, oh, I'm part of that, they like can't compute how you are part of like this thing they've created in their head. And some people like can't get over that.
Yeah, and then when you go into the whole, moralistic standpoint, they just see it as like,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I don't know. I have a lot of friends who don't think you can be a feminist and be a stripper. And that's like a conversation that
Mm-hmm.
if they
Mm-hmm.
just see it as black and white and they're not open to listening, like, you just can't get over that. And that was like a
We need
difficult
an
thing.
episode on that because that's a whole thing.
Yep, that's a whole other episode.
Oh yeah, but no, I mean, like, I remember because I have a lot of friends who work in different parts of like the sex industry, and I have friends who are in porn, and also friends who are escorts. And I remember I was telling my family recently because my brother was kind of making these general statements about like porn stars, and I was like, well, I know some porn stars, and I'm not saying that this is everyone's experience, but this is their experience. And he like could not believe I knew a porn star, like, because you kind of separate them from normal people.
All right. So, for our last question, how much money do you make?
This is one of those questions I think anybody who works in the sex industry hears a lot, because this is one of those main draws that people are like, oh, you must be making so much money. And the answer is everyone is super different. The amount everybody makes is different. On each night is very different. That's kind of, at least in the world of stripping, kind of part of the pros and the cons, is it is always a different night. Some nights you might walk out with 3 times your normal rate, and sometimes you might walk out with $5, and it's usually in cash, and a lot of people stay there because of that. So unfortunately, there's not a clear answer. It's accessible and it's instant.
Yeah, I would say especially.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say especially specifically for stripping. I mean, stripping's a
Yes.
privileged form of sex work because it's not accessible to everyone. But yeah, I mean, I think the requirements are generally pretty doable, and I think everyone has different like views too on what is successful, because I know that sometimes like there's been situations, especially when we started, where we're like, oh, this was a good night, and then somebody else is like, that's a horrible night. Like, you should be making way more money. And you're like, oh, okay. And everywhere you are is different too. Like, our experience so far, especially the club that we started at, was really positive, and there wasn't a lot asked of us. I definitely think depending on different situations and different people's levels of tolerance too, because I think everyone kind of has different boundaries, and so it's weighing like what you're doing with the amount of money and whether or not it's worth it. And that question or that answer is different for everyone. So for us, it feels easy and fun and totally worth it. But I definitely know girls who come in and like, I feel like we have similar experiences and they just like can't handle it. It's not comfortable for them. So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I guess that's, I don't know.
Yeah. No, definitely. I guess, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to approach, the subject of sex work, because the circumstances of everyone is so drastically different. I was just thinking from like the standpoint where, like, let's say that I'm in desperate need for money. There's a lot of jobs that have a lot of requirements. Either there's like, oh, you have to have this level of education, or you have to have this degree, or you have to have this certificate. You're not really asked to like bring in like a set of like requirements. Maybe there's like skills like, oh, at this club we need you to be able to do more pole work, or we need you to be like, we want you to be white, or you want you to be like really skinny, or we want you to be like, really young or have plastic surgery. But within like the world of like how like wide range of all the different types of sex work, I feel like it's a platform that almost anyone can access, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, I get what you're saying. We were talking about like qualifications. It's like you can walk in and not have like any skill set, and they will take you as long as you fit like a minimum requirement. And generally, if one club won't take you, there are other clubs that will. Like, I do think that in general, you can find a place to work.
That's hard because that starts to get into like a lot of like a very difficult subject, you know. But I mean, it is true that there are a lot of people of varying sexual orientations, physical ability, you know, that are still able to access. I feel like I'm going down a slope.
Like a slope. It's okay. I think it's like, I think that it can be like a complicated question. So I don't necessarily think that I think that it's okay that we're struggling on how to answer that question, because our answer is just super one-sided.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk to anybody else's like experience, because I know there's a lot of people who go to sex work because it's all they have. They don't make the most money off of it. They don't have that experience, and so for me to like speak on their behalf. But I guess taking a step back, if you like look at the people that we worked with, because there's such a wide range of like ages and like backgrounds and history, you kind of see how all these different people from all these different walks of life can still enter the same club and still work at the same place. And a lot of those like personal elements don't apply to like whether they're going to get the job or not.
Yes, and they can make more money in that job with more flexibility than they could if they got like a menial labor job or like a base pay job where they're making, you know, minimum wage and they're working 40 plus hours a week. And like you said, some people that like, I mean, I think even us when we first started, it's like, okay, we were going to start dancing because we were both tired of scraping by. So it was like, all right, let's start doing this and see like if it's worth it for us for the money. Because
it was.
And it was, yeah. And so for us, like when people say, how much money do you make? I think for us, the answer is, like you said, it's enough that we keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like it's an option. And now, I mean, there was like a funny meme I think I saw once where it was like the girl has like a lemonade stand and it's like lemonade 50 cents and it's like lick lemonade off my tits $5. Watch me lick lemonade off my friend's tits $20. Like it was like this thing where it's like, yeah, every time you're like, okay, I need more money, you're like, all right, what am I willing to do for this, like with, you know, with my sexuality or my body or something to make that money? Because it's instant, it's generally quick, and I honestly feel like I have more control over it. So in that sense, I feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely know that like oh wait, what were you going to say?
No, that's it. I just think it's like, then it just becomes an option. And once you've done it, you don't really think about it the same way that you did when you started, maybe. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, you know, it's something for me of like a comfort. Like I know that if I lose my job or I move somewhere new and I don't have like that financial security anymore, that's always like something that I know I can go back to, where I can quickly like help rebuild myself like financially and create stability in my life, because that's what it's always been for me in the past. And obviously some days you go home with $5, some days you go home with 1,000. So
yeah, you take the good with the bad, for sure.
All right. Well, I believe that concludes our episode on commonly asked questions.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Just a reminder, episodes are always released on Tuesdays, so we will see you soon.
In the meantime, to soothe your aching loins, you can find us on Instagram at Babes of Valhalla.
And if you'd like to email us with an anecdote for an upcoming episode, check out our social media for the themes we are currently researching, and send your comments and stories to babesofvalhalla@gmail.com, or leave a voicemail at 725-222-3737.
We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay nasty.
Babes of Valhalla is written and produced by the Babes of Valhalla, otherwise known as your illustrious lieges Darby and Charlie. Music provided by the musical genius Gemini Genesis.